All right, so I was going to make this video actually the other day, but I'm glad I kind of held off on it because now it's going to make a little bit more sense on how this all ties in. So the cloud infrastructure service is actually has a revenue right now of $73 billion. Yeah, with the B, billion. I mean that's a massive market, and you can see here from this list, it's kind of a crowded space, but and you've got your usual suspects: Amazon, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Salesforce, IBM Cloud, Oracle. I've seen numbers all over the place on where this thing is going to project out, even in the trillions of dollars, hundreds of billions. I mean, regardless, it's a massive market opportunity. So we got some news from Constellation, and they had their vision piece, and that's one of the reasons why I sort of held off, because I wanted to see what was going to be put out in this new vision piece, and it was a good thing I did hold off, because they clearly articulated a lot of use cases. So the other day on CNBC, they had this article from Oracle, one of those cloud providers, and Larry Ellison was saying that he thinks in the future the government wants to build these sovereign AI cloud infrastructure. And this makes perfect sense if you think about it, especially considering the fact that in the past recent years we've seen adversarial nation states target each other and try to get into its systems and wreak havoc. And everybody wants to protect their critical infrastructure. And this is something that's actually been going on in the United States for a while. The Department of Defense has had this ongoing initiative for years, securing its systems on the cloud. And this program was originally called JEDI, but they've recently moved to a new language. It's called this Joint Warfighter Cloud Capability. And it's a $9 billion in total. Only 2% of that has gone out. And guess who is smack dab in the middle of all of that? It's none other than Constellation Network. So way back in 2019, Constellation Network showed the government, this is how they won their contract. So they showed that the Department of Defense, that they could secure mission critical data at scale. And essentially what they were able to prove to them is they could take any data from any source and securely transmit it using distributed ledger technology. So as some of you know, one of the key selling points to blockchain is its immutability. So you can't get in there and disrupt any part of the system. I mean, it's locked, it's secured, it's not going anywhere. And that's really important when it comes to things like airplanes, right? You don't want to have the GPS data being spoofed. I mean, you could have planes crashing into each other. It's a big problem, and the government specifically is looking to on ways that they can secure their systems. Constellation themselves actually were able to show this publicly in a demo. So back in 2019, this was them driving down the freeway, and they were securing real-time location data, transmitting it to the chain on a public ledger. Okay, so this was already proven, and Constellation has proven to the government that they can secure data at scale. So how does that sort of tie into to Amazon? Well, if you look at some of the companies that are building on Constellation, there's this network called Forward Edge AI, and they're a proud partner of Microsoft. Microsoft's Pegasus program. So the Microsoft Pegasus program is this incubator startup, and it's invite only. So that's pretty telling, right? That they're not just going to let anybody into this program. But Forward Edge AI themselves, they have lots of interesting use cases that have already won them accolades within the federal government. And one of the specific use cases that you can see here, where it's directly tied into what I was talking about, is right here. So they have already proven to the United States government, this actually won them a contract on how you could stop adversarial networks from intruding into their systems. And you can see it's integrated with Microsoft's cloud service, right? And Microsoft Cloud, as you saw on that previous slide, was one of the leaders in cloud computing. Microsoft is also one of the key principal people that is part of this joint warfighting cloud capability. Microsoft is also directly tied into this thing, this National DigiFoundry. So the National DigiFoundry is a DAO that's set up to push forward the adoption of digital assets. And it's specifically tailored to fostering how public and private can work together in fostering these new innovations. And it's got the National Science Foundation, it's got the Space Force, it's got the U.S. Department of Treasury, it's got IBM, and I believe now it's over 100 different companies that are all part of this. And they have these different working groups, all dedicated to specific use cases. They've got this financial product, they've got climate disaster and response, secure information sharing. The list goes on. And in each one of these working groups, you have members that are going after and showcasing their specific use cases. And it's these use cases that will then be put out into a public use, hopefully. And Forward Edge AI is one of these companies. And actually, King Solomon was shown a little sneak peek at this demo, and Forward Edge AI was part of this. Okay. And what were they doing? They were getting source data, and it was being validated by the weather.gov, right? So this is massive. This is a massive validation of Constellation's network. So you're having NOAA get real-time satellite and weather data from all these different sensors, and you want to make sure that all of this data is secure. But it even goes further than that. It's not just this Forward Edge AI. And if you look at this company and you go down the rabbit hole a little bit further, they're involved with so much more. It's not just securing weather data. They're doing lots of things. But to get back to this thing about how sovereign governments, and governments specifically, are going to secure their networks via the cloud, well, the other day in my Telegram group, somebody pointed out that the city of Fort Worth, Texas, is actually building a Metagraph. So they're using right now, the city of Fort Worth, Texas, is actively building a Metagraph. So they're using Constellation's technology. So this is one of the largest cities in the country that's working actively right now on integrating their municipality with distributed ledger technology. And which distributed ledger technology are they using? They're using Constellation's distributed ledger technology. And if you look at this company, actually, and specifically, one of the things that I wanted to point out here, because this is pretty interesting. So this guy right here, he's one of the he's the president of this DAO. He's also an Oracle architect and an analyst for Texas Blockchain Association. But what's really interesting here is it's not just the city of Fort Worth, Texas. You know, he says here that it's also the city of Austin, the city of Houston, and the city of Dallas. So I don't know what it's going to take, you know, for people to take a step back and look at the things that are happening right in front of your face, because things are happening right now, and it's happening on Constellation Network. It's not happening on Ethereum. It's not happening on Cardano. It's not happening on Polkadot. It's definitely not happening on Solana, because we all know they can't scale. It's happening on Constellation. And why specifically is it happening on Constellation? Well, because they have a scalable architecture. These metagraphs themselves are all independent networks. Each one of these metagraphs is its own independent blockchain network. And each one of these metagraphs can scale independently. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why. The other reason why specifically I think a lot of these governments are utilizing and Constellation's technology is its compute power. So Constellation has one of the lowest compute powers out of any distributed ledger technology. I mean, you can see from this list, and this is actually an older list, so it could even be better than this. The cost per transaction. So I think it's time for people to take this network more serious, because massive things are happening, and opportunity is literally going to blow you by. You know, you're literally going to miss out on $1 billion opportunity, because this cloud thing, this is just one specific use case. The metagraphs themselves can have an infinite number of use cases and applications to be tied into. It's not just having an advantage in cloud computing. So that's it. That's my rant. All right, everybody, take it easy.